Today is Mob Movie Monday. It's going to be very, very interesting. You're going to say, where did this movie come from? It's called The Wannabe. Hey everyone, it is Monday, November 2nd, big Monday after the big Halloween weekend, and today is Mob Movie Monday. Welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. You had a safe Halloween weekend. Ours was great. We had a party Friday night. My kids, my family, they love it. And let me make this clear. We don't celebrate the meaning of Halloween. It's a costume party for all of us here. And I'll tell you this, any opportunity I have to get my whole family together and, just all eat and have fun and laugh and, I do it. So even if it's Halloween. So that's that. And, before I get into anything, we got a very interesting movie today. But before I get into that, I want to apologize to all the people out there that want me to review Witness to the Mob. It was an NBC movie, I think back in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. It was about Sammy Gravano, Sammy the Bull. I was going to do that, even though I'm not crazy about the movie, but I stopped, and for one reason. For all you people that watch Joe Rogan, you know that Joe Rogan mentioned both Sammy and myself on one of his podcasts just a couple of weeks ago. And in that, he said some nice things, honestly. But one thing he said about Sammy, he gave him some compliments. He said, hey, Sammy, you know what? Talking to the camera, he said, you look pretty young for your age, 75 years old, man, you look young. He's a good looking guy, he's in good shape and all of that. He said some nice things about me. Sammy loved it. I saw one of his, postings and he said, wow, you just, you dropped me in years. I can get some more women now. He made a joke out of it. So after hearing, that, I have to say, the guy that played Sammy in the movie, he didn't cut it, he wasn't good looking enough. So I don't want to insult Sammy by going into that movie just for that reason alone. So I'm going to pass on Witness to the Mob. But I got to tell you this, Sammy the Bull is 75 years old. I'm 69. Rogan said that Sammy looks so good for his age. You think he looks younger than me? That's a challenge I want to take. You think Sammy looks younger than me? I'm 6 years younger than him. Tell the truth, but be careful for the consequences if you say the wrong thing. That's all I can tell you. But anyway, we have some fun with it. And so I'm not going to review that. It was a two-part series, Witness to the Mob. NBC did it. And some of you have talked about it and you liked it and so on and so forth. I did watch it. Wasn't crazy about it. I doubt Sammy was either. But we'll see. Maybe sometime in the future. But answer that question. Who looks younger, me or Sammy? Okay. Before I get into it, I want to give you a couple of updates. Tomorrow is election day. I will be doing a post. It's going to be a little bit out of the ordinary. No, I'm not going to get into my political choice. I know what that means, but I think you should tune in tomorrow. It's a big day. A lot of people are on edge. Future of this country could be at stake depending upon what side you're on and what you want to hear and what direction you want for the country. So tune in because I'm going to give you a mob perspective on that and what's happening tomorrow, and I think you'll enjoy that. Next, a couple of interviews coming up, some good ones. I got a surprise for some of you. Many of you have been asking, you know what, you got to get together with Giuliani. Well, there's been some discussion there, and I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Pagliarulo, Joe Pags they call him. He's got a huge syndicated radio show. I was on his show yesterday along with Rudy, different times. Rudy, Eric Trump, and me were on the show. We gave some of our perspective on some things that are going on right now. But it looks like it's very possible that Rudy and I will get together for a sit down. Don't know where the platform is going to be yet, but I'm understanding Rudy is open to it. Joe Pags is in the middle. He's kind of monitoring it. I will definitely look forward to that. Will be very interesting. He and I come from two different places, have two different perspectives. Remember, he put me on trial for several months, big racketeering case. Fortunately, I was acquitted. I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you about any of this. So it's going to be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to that. Larry Lawton. I got to be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with Larry. I know he's got a great podcast, a lot of subscribers. He's been doing it for a while, ex-prison guy. He reached out to my camp and he wants to have me on, and I think we're going to make that happen in some way. I have respect for what he's done over the past several months with his podcast. Must be doing a great job. I'm going to tune in and listen, but I think that's happening soon. Being he reached out to us, it's very possible that I'll go on his platform first. We'll work something out, then it'll be brought here later on, but we'll keep you up to date if and when that's going to happen, but it looks like it's coming together. Mike Tyson. Mike and I have been in touch. And, he's preparing for his big fight with Roy Jones Jr. on November 12th. I probably will attend the fight, but if I don't, doesn't matter. I'll watch it somewhere. But we are going to get together. He's probably going to sit down with me at Slices. A couple of things we have to work out with COVID and him preparing for his match and everything. Got to be very careful how we put Mike, because I don't like Zoom calls. But that's in process, and it will happen. It'll be a great sit down because Mike, I love the comeback story. He's very, very sincere. He is in great shape. You don't want to mess with him. I can tell you right now, he looks terrific. He's ready to go. Roy Jones, feel bad for you, brother, but who knows? You're a great fighter too. Maybe you'll hold your own there. And a couple other things coming up. I'm not going to tell you everything, but Joe Pistone, Donnie Brasco, yes, it's in process. Some people will say, Michael, how can you sit down with an ex-FBI agent? Let me explain something to you people. Joe Pistone, when he did his undercover work, he was doing his work. I wouldn't have liked him back then, didn't want to get involved with him back then, was a bit angry with what he did because some of my friends went down during that whole investigation, but he was an FBI agent doing his job. And as long as FBI agents didn't frame us, we understood. They were on one side of the law, we were on the other. So, there's no hard feelings. And I have met him, later on in life. Some of you are going to, give me some, blowback on this. I get it. But I have met Joe. We've been together several times in different conferences that we spoke at. He happens to be a very decent guy. And I'm saying it straight out, and I will look forward to sitting down with him. It'll be a very interesting conversation. Again, different perspectives, but I know you're going to enjoy it. So all of this is coming up. So that's it. Subscribe to the channel because you're going to get the alerts, number one. Number two, you're going to hear a lot of stuff that we're going to have special for a lot of the subscribers. We're working on it now. People, this is a lot of work putting this content together and making it special for you. So hopefully you're seeing that. You've been really supportive. We got over 240,000 subscribers in a little more than 3 months. So you guys are really, we respect the loyalty. It seems like you're enjoying the content, but we got a lot more coming up. For those of you that have been struggling through this COVID thing, I'm only going to tell you this. Join the community, join the crew. MichaelFranzese.com. We got over 6,500 members now in 4 months, and they are loving it. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to join the inner circle. That will cost you because you get more personal involvement with me. But join the community. If I can only post some of the feedback that we're getting, people encouraging each other, it's been a great, great resource for people. And I really encourage you to get involved in it because throughout this whole COVID thing, a lot of people are struggling and they said it's been an enormous help. Excuse me. And it's going to get even better. So join the community, free. You're going to see a lot of content, a lot of encouragement. I guarantee you're going to be blessed by it. So that's it. Now let's get into the movie today. It's going to be very, very interesting. You're going to say, where did this movie come from? It's called The Wannabe. Now, I bet you most of you have not heard about it. It's called The Wannabe. It's loosely based on a true story. And that true story is about Tom and Rose Uva, who were a husband and wife team that were robbing card games in Brooklyn, Queens, Ozone Park, card games that were all run by mob guys, my former fellow associates. Yes, they went in there, or Tommy did with a gun, she drove the getaway car, and they were robbing these card games, and they did it quite a while. All three families, if I believe, got involved. Were hit by it, I should say, not got involved. And it was a fairly big case way back when. So that's what it's about, and it's loosely based upon their lives. However, they did a twist on there, and it just really caught my attention, the title, Wannabe. Now, it was executive produced by Martin Scorsese, so obviously that catches my attention too because he does quality stuff. So I said, hey, it can't be that bad. But the wannabe term, people, I got to tell you something. I don't know how many people I've come across in my life when I was on the street that were wannabes. And a lot of them that were wannabes, they were wannabes that could never be. put that together. Wannabes that could never be, because they really just didn't cut it the right way in that life. And that doesn't mean they had to be a stone cold killer, doesn't mean any of that. It just means that they just weren't cut out for the life. Now, I want to relate this back to myself a little bit, and then I'll get a little bit more involved. Then we'll get into the movie, and I think you'll enjoy it. Now, I want to tell you this. This is a B movie, okay? The cast is great. I'm going to get into that because, if I'm going to watch something and really start to get a little bit immersed, what do I look for? Authenticity. The cast, that they got to do it right. The dialogue's got to be right. The look has got to be right. And this movie had all of that. It really did. But it was kind of a B movie. If it was in the theaters, I'd say, I don't know if you want to waste $15 unless you just go eating popcorn, sitting down, watching a movie, then fine. But if not, grab it. I think it's probably on Netflix. I actually had to rent it on YouTube, for $3 or something like that and watch it. But, get yourself a soda or a glass of wine, some popcorn, and watch it. And I think you'll enjoy it for an hour and a half. But I got to tell you my own personal experience. Now, this. Wannabe. When I first got into this life, I told you, this is not something I aspired to be. I didn't want to be a wise guy. My dad got me out of that direction. He wanted me to go to school. He wanted me to play ball, be a doctor. That was the whole bit. But when circumstances changed for me, you're all familiar with that. I'm not going to go into it. And I had that sit down with my father in Leavenworth Penitentiary. And he said to me, son, if you're going to be on the street, I want you to do it the right way. And he asked me one question. And I think I've said this before, but if not, I'm opening up my heart to you. He looked at me, he said, son, if you ever had to kill somebody, could you do it? And I thought about it for a minute. I didn't jump up and say, yeah, Dad, I can't wait. I thought about it and I said, you know what, Dad, under the right circumstances, yeah, I believe I could. He said, that's the right answer. And then he moved forward and he proposed me. Now, I want to tell you this. I didn't join the life to become a killer. This wasn't something that I aspired. I wasn't a wannabe guy that, hey, I want to be a gangster. Let me go out on the street and let me start doing things that gangsters do, at least that we saw them do in the movies. I want to tell you this. My father had a reputation as an enforcer. And my father was a tough guy, no doubt about it. But you know what? In the 40s and 50s and, maybe late 30s when he was coming up, and things were a little bit more cowboyish and that stuff was going wild on the street and there was a war going on in our family. My dad got involved, in that stuff. But after that, my dad preached to me, Mike, go legit, legitimate business. Violence is only something if you got to get involved in it. He preached that to me. He said, go legit, go legit. And he had started to do that. He was in the record business. He had a cleaning company. He was getting involved in legitimate things because he knew you want to leave the violence on the street unless it becomes necessary. So why am I saying that? So when I wanted to become a made guy or a gangster it was really to help my dad and then obviously to make money. Because I said, hey, if this life is going to offer me advantage and I can use it to benefit me in business, well, yeah, I'm going to capitalize on that because that's just who I am. That's what I do. All right, but I didn't enjoy the other stuff. I didn't want to be a gangster in that sense. I wanted to be the best possible guy I could be. And I thought the way to do that, was to make money for the family. That's what I set out to do. And I did it fairly successfully. And as a result, I rose in the ranks. But that's not to say that when I was called upon to do something, I didn't do it. But I'm going to be honest with you here too. I didn't enjoy it. There's times I had to step out of myself and do what I was told to do because you got to obey orders in that life. But I want to be clear on that. Guys on the street, I'm telling you, when I was in that life, there were so many guys that wanted to be around me all the time. And they would do certain things, to try to prove themselves. And I knew that they just weren't the right guy. I knew that they wouldn't stand up if something went down. But so many wannabes. And how many wannabes have you experienced in your life? Are you a wannabe? Now, it's okay to be a wannabe in a good sense. I'll tell you a bad sense. When I was a kid, you know what I wanted to be? I wanted to be Mickey Mantle, play center field for the New York Yankees. I only had one problem. I wasn't good enough. I could play ball, but I wasn't good enough for that. But, so it was unrealistic for me to try to pursue a career that I knew that I could never cut it in. Okay, I wanted to be a doctor. Okay, go to school, get an education. I had a half a brain on my head. I could have done it that way. So it's okay to be a wannabe when it's realistic and it's something that you can achieve. But to be a wannabe gangster, you know what? You can pick that person out. No doubt about it. And there's a lot of them on the street. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of social media people out there that believe they could have been in that life, or they believe that, you know, they cut it, or they have knowledge that they think they gleaned from the newspapers and social media. I have so many people trying to, you know, tell me things, and I know they're off, and I'm not going to get into an argument with them. And people, you know what? When I relay facts, I'm relaying things from 30, 40, almost 50 years ago. So sometimes I'm not right on the button with it. I don't remember the exact timeline or everything, you know. I'm not reading a script. All this is in my head. It's coming out from what I know. So, but the wannabe thing really got me because it's something I experienced all my life. Next, the cast of the movie was great. I really enjoyed it. Do you know who Vincent Piazza is? If you don't know him, he's a great, good-looking guy, good street kind of, you know, character. He played Tommy DeSimone in Jersey Boys. He did a great job. I think he was in 2, 3, 4 episodes of The Sopranos. He also played in Boardwalk Empire. He was the main guy. He played Tommy Uva, you know, the guy that was holding up the card games. He was great. Patricia Arquette was in it. She was terrific. You know, she played his wife. She played Rose. She's a great actress. She did a good job in this. Kind of a street, woman. They both had a drug problem, so they played it well in that regard. Dominic Lombardozzi. I don't know if you know who Dominic is, but look him up. Great actor. He should be in every mob movie. The TV series that they're doing on my life now, which is really making progress. I can't announce it yet because I'm not allowed to. Production company will do it when they're ready, and that time is coming up. It's a big one. TV series, you're going to enjoy it. But anyway, Dominic Lombardozzi, I want him in it. He's great in every role that he takes. He played Mickey in this film, and he was terrific. He was in The Irishman, in a bunch of films. Dominic Lombardozzi, he's terrific. And then Michael Imperiale, you know who he was, Christopher from Sopranos. Always does a good job. Minor role, but whatever role he's in, he does a good job. So it was a good cast. So okay, gets my attention. You know, this is something that I should watch. So I get into it, and again, the story had a lot of truth into it, but a lot of fiction. They made this guy, Tommy Uva, they made him have this obsession with John Gotti. Obsession with John Gotti. So the story revolves around him wanting to meet John Gotti so bad that he tries during John Gotti's trial in 1992, he thinks he's going to be able to get to the brother of one of the jurors, bribe the brother of the juror, and guarantee at least a hung jury for John Gotti. And he was so excited about it. This is what he was going to do. And as a result, he can get to meet John Gotti. Now, I got to be honest with you, there's a lot of people that were infatuated with John back then. He was kind of a hero in Ozone Park and his neighborhood. He really was. And a lot of guys, wanted to be around John Gotti. He was the most highly publicized guy, way out there. You saw his character. Don't have to get into it. So it wasn't unrealistic that this guy would want or have an obsession. And it was really obsession. He had a real obsession. They took it to another level in this film.
Let's talk this way about John. Why the rats sit around and let him fine? I don't want to hear it anymore.
It turns out that the whole scam that he thought he was pulling, it was a scam. The guy was not really the juror's brother, and he was trying to scam Tom out of 50 grand. Well, the guys close to Gotti, they figured it out. They checked it out. They didn't take this guy's word for it because they knew he was a little bit of a drug addict, a little bit of a, BS artist. So they didn't really take his word out. They checked it out, and it was a whole scam. Well, he's devastated over this. He's embarrassed. He's going crazy over it. It really got to him. The second obsession that he had was with Curtis Sliwa. Now, I don't know if you know who Curtis was. Some of you do. But he was the head of the Guardian Angels back then, and they were kind of like a vigilante group, but vigilante on the good side that they went after. They tried to help the police fight crime. And Sliwa's got a radio show now. I think he's running for mayor of New York. I was on his show once or twice, but he hated John Gotti, and he was very vocal about it, And so in the film, this guy Tommy has an obsession. In order to get good with Gotti, he wants to kill Sliwa.
I need to kill this bastard.
I mean, he was found guilty.
I need to kill this bastard.
He's going to prison for the rest of his life.
I'm gonna make my bones on Curtis Sliwa.
That wasn't true in real life, but it kind of fit into the story they were doing. It was pretty good. So anyway, there was a couple of scenes in there that I really liked. And one of the scenes was when he out of nowhere, he decides we're going to rob card games. Him and his girlfriend, they thought it up. They're going to start robbing card games.
Hands up!
So he goes in. The first one he does was a huge game, a lot of old neighborhood guys in there. And he goes in with a gun and no mask or nothing. He says, which was crazy because he's in the neighborhood. Everybody saw who he was. They probably knew who he was, even though it took a while for them to figure it out, in real life, who he really was. But anyway, so he goes in there and he robs the card game, gets all the money, makes them take off the watches. All the old timers are going along. It's a really great scene. I enjoyed it because it kind of brought me back, and the characters, even though they were minor characters in the card game, they were very authentic. They must have casted these guys right out of the neighborhood. So it was really good. Another good scene for me is Rose, who married Tommy, was in the kitchen of her home with her mother and her brother. Now, her brother was a cop. Her brother knew about Tommy, knew his background, didn't like him, so he starts getting on his sister for her being with him.
Maybe. Ma, what are you looking at him for? It's my house.
She doesn't want to meet him. She knows all she needs to know about him.
How?
How do you think?
And they get into an argument, they get mad, the poor mom is in the middle. I just like that scene because to me it was very authentic. In an Italian family, something like that would happen. And I got to tell you this, back in the neighborhood, at that time, during my time in that life, we had 5 families. We had about 750 made guys that had took the oath. We had a lot of associates around. And as a result, a lot of our family members were law enforcement. A lot of our neighbors were law enforcement because we had so many, there was so many of us that we were bound to have those type of relationships. So it wasn't out of the ordinary that, this woman's brother was a cop and he investigated her husband now. They got married, Tommy, and didn't like him at all and was trying to talk her out. She got very belligerent. The poor mom is in the middle. She's crying. Just a great scene. For me, it brought me back to some incidents in my life that I kind of related to. Another crazy scene that, again, in reality, if this happened, it would be really crazy. But Rose, Tom's wife, realized that Tommy needed to get recognition in that life in some way, shape, or form. So she leaked somehow to the newspaper that these social club card games were getting robbed. She didn't give the names, but she wanted it in the newspaper. She just wanted it publicized so Tommy in his own mind can kind of, use it as a badge of courage. And he was thrilled when he read it in the paper. That's crazy stuff. And like I said, even though she didn't give up the name, kind of pumped him up, made him feel good. Like, hey, I'm somebody. I'm not only a wannabe now, I'm doing it. I'm robbing these guys. And, the psychology of a guy that wants to be but could never be, that was Tommy. And anything he needed to do to raise his psyche up, even though it was very destructive, he did. So it was really interesting to me. And then the last scene, and again, this was fabricated, didn't happen this way in real life with respect to Tommy and Rose, but supposedly Tommy is looking to kill Sliwa, and he sets him up. Gets a taxi cab because he finds out that Sliwa comes out of his house every morning, gets into a taxi cab and goes to his work wherever he was going. Well, this particular morning, Tommy and Rose were in the cab. Sliwa gets in the back, says, take me to so-and-so place, and Tommy turns around and starts shooting at him. And he wounds him, but Sliwa jumps through the back window, and gets out of the car. The taxi drives away. Sliwa was wounded, pretty seriously, but he lived. And in real life, Sliwa blamed John Gotti Jr. and said it was in retaliation for Sliwa's constant bad-mouthing his father. And he thought that, Sliwa did a lot of damage to his father as far as the media was concerned. And it went to the extent that John Gotti Jr. went on trial for this 3 times. And 3 times they failed to convict him. He got 3 hung juries. And Sliwa still talks about the Gottis whenever he can. But he's, he never forgot that. And I guess you can understand why. He almost got killed. And what happened in real life, though, because again, it was all 3 families that were really involved in these card game stick-ups, that they investigated it thoroughly. And a couple of guys, one of the clubs that they took down was was Jimmy Brown Faella. It was his club. It was Joe Butcher's club. It was Skinny Dom Pizzolia, his club. And so they investigated all of these guys because they didn't know from which family this came from. But as it turned out, I believe Skinny Dom was convicted of conspiracy, not the actual murder. I think he drew like a 15-year prison sentence and later got out on it. So it was a real story, and Slee will be happy to tell you about it. And if you listen to his radio show. But so that's about it. That's it for today. Again, I recommend the movie. Sit at home, get a glass of wine, glass of soda, eat some popcorn, and watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. The characters were great, and authenticity good. Again, Scorsese executive produced it. So that's it for today. That's Mob Movie Monday today. We'll have another one next week. Obviously, tomorrow is Election Day. I want you to tune in. I got a special message for all of you. Hopefully you'll receive it right, people, because it's so hard to have dialogue about this election. People are just so heated about it, but hopefully we can resolve some of that tomorrow. So tune in, going to give you my perspective on it. Hopefully you'll respect and appreciate that. Whether you disagree or not, that's fine. I don't mind disagreement, but as long as we do it the right way. So that's it. I'm going to say goodbye now. You know what I always say? What's that? Be safe, be healthy. God bless. See you next time.